So, I want to talk about the Tesseract of Fatality for 9/11, 2001. All right, so the US chart showed all four triggers: primary direction Mars to the 8th, solar arc Pluto to the ascendant, lunar node to Saturn, progress moon in the 12th house. The attack was astrologically inevitable given the timing. All right, you see the next major US war signature is the Saturn return to the US Pluto, which is 27 degrees Capricorn in 2029 through 2030. Faculty warns of a constitutional crisis that could lead to internal conflict or a new foreign war of distraction. Right? Let's talk about Russia, the bear's cage. Right? We have the natal chart June 12th, 1990, being the declaration of sovereignty. All right, the faculty prefers December 25th, 1991, USSR dissolution chart. Sun is at 2 degrees Capricorn, expansion factor, identity as structured power. Moon is at 19 degrees Leo, which is dramatic, wounded pride. The ascendant is at 3 degrees Aries, first strike, preemptive aggression. Mars at 24 degrees Scorpio, it's deep, secretive, and vengeful warfare. We see Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius on the cusp, frozen ideology. Right, so primary direction Mars to the ascendant, every major Russian military action, Chechnya, Georgia 2008, Crimea 2014, Ukraine 2022 occurred when progressed Mars directed to the ascendant, Aries 3 degrees, the orb was lesser than 0.2 degrees in each case. Solar arc Saturn to Pluto, Energetic Capricorn, the collapse of the USSR's successor state. Faculty sees a second collapse around 2035 through 2040. In the Putin chart, October 7th, 1952, this is rectified. His personal chart shows a Saturn-Pluto opposition exact at birth. His entire political career is a war against this opposition, externalizing the internal conflict onto neighbors. All right, so let's talk about China. The dragon sleep cycle. The natal chart, October 1st, 1949 for People's Republic, 3 p.m. Beijing. So Sun, 7 degrees Libra, it's diplomatic, harmony-seeking face. Moon at 14 degrees Capricorn, discipline, patient, authoritarian. Ascendant is at 20 degrees Sag, global reach, ideological mission. Mars is at 0 degrees Virgo, precision warfare, cyber, drones. Pluto, 17 degrees Leo, generational trauma of the century of humiliation. All right, so we have our war signatures. Solar arc Mars to the ascendant, every territorial conflict, Korea 1950, Vietnam 1979, India 1962, recent South China Sea tensions aligns with this arc. The next activation is 2028 through 2030, Taiwan window. Helical drift alignment. The drift will activate China's natal Pluto, 17 degrees Leo, around 2032. Faculty predicts a war of national reunification or a major civil unrest, depending on leadership choices. All right, now let's talk about the astrology of war on set, the 90-day warning system. So a war is not a single event, but a cascade, a buildup of tensions that erupts on a specific day. The faculty has identified a 90-day warning system based on 3 overlapping cycles. So our first phase, 90 days before the outbreak, Saturn enters the pre-shadow of a hard aspect to Pluto. Saturn within 3 degrees of a square, opposition, or conjunction to Pluto, orb decreasing. World leaders become rigid, fearful, and prone to zero-sum thinking. Diplomacy fails. And for example, January 1914, Saturn 3 degrees from the opposition to Pluto. July 1914, exact opposition, war declared August 1st. Phase 2, 30 days before the outbreak, Mars enters the pre-shadow of a hard aspect to Uranus. Mars within 1 degree of a conjunction, square, or opposition to Uranus. An event of shock occurs, an assassination, a false flag, miscalculation, a spark. So for example, June 28th, 1914, Mars 0.5 degrees from square to Uranus. Assassination of Franz Ferdinand. All right. In phase 3, 3 days before the outbreak, the progressed moon of the attacking nation enters the 8th or 12th house. Progressed moon, secondary progression in the 8th, death, shared resources, or 12th, hidden enemies, institutions of the national chart. the leader feels trapped, sees no alternative, and orders the attack. So, for example, August 1st, 1914, Germany's progressed moon entered its 12th house. Kaiser Wilhelm felt encircled. We have the 90-day war calendar. Faculty internal tool here. Faculty maintains a classified war calendar, a list of dates when all three phases align for any major power. These dates are flagged for confidential consultation with defense and diplomatic contacts. Since 2015, the faculty has successfully predicted 7 armed conflicts to within 7 days, including the 2022 Ukraine invasion 4 days early. No public disclosure has been made. All right, let's talk about case studies. Astrological autopsy of major wars. Starting with WW1, 1914 through 1918, the Saturn-Pluto War. We have our event chart, July 28th, 1914, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, 11 a.m. Vienna. So we see this chart has Saturn-Pluto opposition, exact July 1914, 0.02 degrees orb, the old order, Saturn dying Pluto. Mars-Uranus square, exact June 28, 1914, assassination, Mars 25 degrees Libra, Uranus 10 degrees Aquarius, square orb 0.1 degrees. Neptune in Cancer, 29 degrees Anoretic. So Neptune at 29 degrees Cancer, dissolver of boundaries. The war would be unlike any previous. Industrial, global, total. And progressed moon of Germany, August 1st, 1914, in the 12th house. The feeling of encirclement. And our fatalism level here is 9.2 out of 10. The war was inevitable by mid-1914. Only the exact trigger date was variable. Second case study is WW2, the Anoretic War from 1939 through 1945. September 1st, 1939, invasion of Poland, 4:45 a.m. Berlin. Saturn at square Pluto, exact September 1939, 0.05 degrees orb, the unfinished business of WW1. Mars conjunct Uranus, exact September 1st, 1939, 0.01 degrees orb, the Bliss-Craig signature. Pluto in Leo, 29 degrees Anoretic, Pluto at 29 degrees Leo, Echo Carrier. The war would repeat WW1's patterns, trenches, tanks, but same nationalism. Aries at 23 degrees Aries, square to Saturn Pluto, the unmasking of genocide. The Holocaust was astrologically visible. Aries square Pluto is the hidden mass death revealed. So our fatalism level is 9.5 out of 10. The Treaty of Versailles guaranteed a second war, only the date and scale were uncertain. All right. And our third case study is the 6-Day War, 1967, the Mars-Uranus Lightning War. June 5th, 1967, 7:45 a.m., Israel. Mars conjunct Uranus, exact June 5th, 1967, at 0.02 degrees orb. Preemptive strike, Sun in Gemini at 15 degrees, square Saturn, which is 20 degrees Pisces, and we see the shock of the preemptive attack. Progressed moon of Israel in the 8th house is existential fear of annihilation. Helical drift at 0 degrees Capricorn, expansion, the war expanded Israel's borders multiplied by 3. So fatalism level is 8.7 out of 10. The build-up closing of the Straits of Tyran made war highly probable. The exact date was chosen by Mars-Uranus. All right. The Ukraine War, Aries-Saturn unmasking war. February 24th, 2022, 5 a.m. at Kyiv. You see Mars square Uranus, exact February 24th, 2022, 0.03 degrees orb, the invasion trigger. Aries conjunct Saturn, exact December 2020, 0.1 degrees orb, the unmasking of war crimes, Bucha, Mariupol. Pluto in Capricorn, 27 degrees Anoretic, which I'm saying that because it's close to the Anoretic, so I'll say pre-Anoretic. All right. The death of the post-Cold War order. Helical drift at 0 degrees Capricorn, still in expansion phase, the war as a threshold event crossing into a new geopolitical era. So our fatalism level is 7.5 out of 10. It's high probability, but not inevitable. A different Russian leadership could have avoided the invasion. The chart shows choice points, Jupiter trine Saturn at invasion, a missed diplomatic window. All right. We won't go over those. Let's talk about the astrologer's duty in wartime, right? Our goal is to predict the exact death toll of a war. The Oedipal transit risk prediction creates the event, advising military leaders on auspicious invasion dates, using war astrology for personal gain, example, betting on conflict outcomes. All right? War is not a failure of astrology, it is a feature of the spiral, a brutal, costly, but sometimes necessary reset of the collective tensegrity. The faculty's task is not to eliminate war, which is impossible, by the way, but to predict it, mitigate it, and tend to its survivors. This treatise is not a justification, it is a map of the fire. The wise wizard does not stare at the flames, they read the wind, warn the village, and save who they can. Thus closes the belligerent spiral. So, next I do want to talk about gender biology and mental health. So we're gonna switch this up here. Let's just jump to gender theory through astrological archetypes, our binary framework. Traditional astrology genders planets and signs, right? Masculine, the yang, and feminine, the yin, which is the moon and Venus, Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. We see masculine yang as Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. Advanced gender theory within this binary acknowledges that these are archetypal energies, not biological imperatives. A person of either biological sex can express both. The critical module below decouples archetype from anatomy while retaining binary categories. All right. So, we recognize that astrological gender assignments are symbolic tools, not biological facts. Like, we can take a feminine sign, Cancer, list its traditional traits, nurturing, protective, emotional, receptive, then list the same traits in a masculine sign like Leo, protective of pride, emotionally expressive, receptive to praise, identify, overlap, and argue for or against the necessity of gendering signs at all. All right? So no biological difference between sexes causes a person to express Mars or Venus. However, astrological gender archetypes can be used as pedagogical metaphors for understanding hormonal or neuroendocrine tendencies. For example, testosterone's role in assertiveness, Mars, versus estrogen's role in social bonding, Venus. These are loose analogies, not determinants. All right? So, I want to talk about biological purposes. Seasonal birth defects in chronobiology. Astrology's most defensible biological interface is chronobiology, the study of how birth season influences physiology. While astrology claims planetary positions cause traits, the actual mechanism is likely seasonal factors: vitamin D exposure, maternal infections, temperature, and light cycles. So, known seasonal correlates: epidemiological. We have our birth season, our biological tendency, our astrological sign, and the equivalent, okay? So winter, December through February, higher risk of schizophrenia. Lower novelty seeking, we're talking about Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Spring, March through May, higher dopamine receptor sensitivity, increased impulsivity. We're talking about Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Summer, June through August, higher extroversion, lower risk of depression. We're talking about Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. In autumn, September through November, higher conscientiousness, right? Lower risk taking. We're talking about Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. Learners compare astrological personality profiles for a given sign with actual seasonal birth defect data. They identify where astrology accidentally maps onto biology. For example, winter-born Pisces has dreamy, dissociated, possibly linked to vitamin D deficiency's effect on mood. Where astrology contradicts biology, for example, summer-born Leo as dominant, but summer births actually show higher agreeableness in some studies. This module trains medical students to think critically about temporal confounding, the error of mistaking correlation birth season for astrological causation. All right. Now I want to get into my medicinal research. Astrology as qualitative heuristic. No medicinal compound should ever be derived from astrology. However, in integrative medicine or medical humanities, astrological archetypes can organize patient narratives for holistic case taking. Right, so for example, planetary archetypes in symptom language are planet, traditional bodily association, possible heuristic use and intake. Saturn is known for the bones, teeth, chronic pain, patient describing heavy, slow, isolating pain. Mars is known for blood, inflammation, acute injury, patient describing hot, sharp, angry symptoms. Moon is digestive system, cyclical fluids, patient describing waxing, waning, emotional symptoms. And Mercury is the nerves, lungs, speech, patient describing scattered, restless, communicative symptoms. All right. So, mental illness. Pre-modern astrology attributed mental disorders to planetary configurations. All right. Melancholia, depression, Saturn in hard aspect to Moon or Mercury. Mania, bipolar excitement, Mars or Sun in Aries with Jupiter. Psychosis, schizophrenia, Neptune afflicting Mercury or the ascendant. Hysteria, conversion disorder, Moon in hard aspect to Venus or Pluto. These were pre-scientific attempts to explain suffering. Today they are dangerous if taken literally. They discourage biological treatment and imply cosmic blame. So, specific mental illnesses and astrological caution. Schizophrenia, Neptune square Mercury, dissociation as spiritual gift, neurodevelopmental disorder with dopamine dysregulation, bipolar disorder, Moon opposite Sun, emotional extremes as creativity, genetic and circadian rhythm disorder, OCD, Mercury and Virgo square Saturn, perfectionism as moral failing, glutamate, GABA imbalance, and corticostriatal dysfunction. Clinical depression, Saturn and Pisces, karmic punishment, monoamine deficiency, inflammation, or endocrine disorder. Now, any astrological statement about mental illness that implies causation or moral judgment should be rejected outright. Astrology may describe the subjective experience of an illness. For example, I feel weighed down by Saturn, but it cannot explain its etiology or guide treatment. All right. We didn't really get into the gender stuff yet, but all right, this is a big one, and this might get me in trouble, but we're going to talk about it here. I want to talk about an astrological and philosophical report on male jealousy of the feminine under patriarchy. This is going to cause some flack, maybe, but I'm a feminist and I'm also a detransitioner. So, this report synthesizes astrological archetypes with critical philosophy to examine a hidden current within patriarchal structures, men's unconscious jealousy of women's biological, emotional, and symbolic powers, using planetary correspondences, sign modalities, and mythological analysis. I argue that patriarchy is not merely a system of male dominance, but a reactive formation, a fortress built against an envy that men dare not name. The report concludes with astrological indicators for recognizing and integrating this shadow material. All right. Philosophical frame here. Envy as the unspoken engine of patriarchy. Standard feminist philosophy identifies patriarchy as a system of male supremacy maintained through institutional power, violence, and ideology. But a deeper psychological layer, explored by thinkers from Klein to Irigaray, reveals envy as a primordial driver. Not penis envy, Freud's misdirection, but womb envy, men's profound, often repressed jealousy of women's capacity to create, gestate, and nourish life from within their own bodies. And that's why we have men in power trying to take it away from us with their little hormone replacement, their big hormone replacement and surgeries. Patriarchy, from this view, is a massive compensatory architecture. Men build external monuments, laws, cathedrals, armies, corporations, because they cannot build internally. They name themselves creators in art and science, while secretly knowing that the primary creation belongs to women. And that's also their God trick. If you believe in God, you're believing in a man that created everything. All right, that is delusion. Astrology provides a symbolic language to map this hidden economy of envy. Our astrological archetypes, the feminine powers men covet, the moon, cyclical sovereignty. The moon rules the tides, the night, and the menstrual cycle. In a woman's chart, a strong moon, Cancer rising moon in Taurus or Pisces, grants emotional permeability, instinctual knowing, and the ability to bleed without dying. A monthly encounter with death and renewal that no man experiences. All right? Men's jealousy of the moon manifests as discussed rituals around menstruation, taboos, isolation, euphemisms. I've dealt with guys that said they're scared of women, overvaluation of rationality, enlightenment's clear light versus lunar darkness, medical patriarchy, the historical control of women's reproductive health by male doctors. Astrological indicator in a man's chart. A man with moon in hard aspect to Mars or Saturn often projects his own rejected lunar nature onto women, alternating between idealizing and devaluing them. All right? And that's what the world that we're living in. All right? So Venus, the sovereignty of attraction. Venus governs beauty, desire, and the power to be desired. Women, astrologically, are not merely the objects of the male gaze. They are its arbiters. A woman with Venus dignified, Libra, Taurus, Pisces, wields an almost queenly authority over the erotic field. Men must compete, perform, and supplicate for access to what women possess by nature. Patriarchy's response is to veil and confine female beauty, hijab, burqa, modest dress codes, simultaneously hypersexualize it, advertising pornography, beauty pageants, punish it, honor killings, acid attacks, slut shaming. This double bind reveals pure envy. Men both worship and destroy what they cannot become. And when we say slut shaming, what we really mean is just girl shaming and female shaming. That's what it really is. Sex shaming. Alright. So our astrological indicator, a man with Venus in Aries or Scorpio, signs of intense desire but afflicted by Saturn or Pluto, often develops a possessive, controlling sexuality, trying to own what he can never internally generate. Let's talk about the earth signs. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. The body is a temple. Women's astrological connection to earth is not essentialist but symbolic. The womb is an earth organ, dark, wet, generative. Men's bodies are fire and air by comparison, projective, abstract, externalizing. So Taurus woman, somatic serenity, pleasure without guilt, rootedness. Virgo woman is purification, discernment, the power to select the worthy. Capricorn woman is endurance, delayed gratification, the long arc of legacy. Men under patriarchy are taught to despise the body, especially their own, and to flee from Earth's weight into abstract systems. The envy surfaces as, we say it's fat phobia, control of female bodies through size, but what I will say is it's not good to, be too big, because we want you to be healthy, so we'll say more just control of female bodies through size. Aging panic, women's earth wisdom is feared, so older women are erased, and violence against pregnant bodies, the ultimate envy crime. A lot of men kill their pregnant wives and girlfriends and babies. It happens all the time. Patriarchy has Saturnine overcompensation. So astrologically, patriarchy is a Saturnian system. It's rigid, hierarchical, boundaried, fearful of chaos. Saturn rules Capricorn and the 10th house of structures, but Saturn's shadow is insecurity. The tower built too high is always afraid of falling. Men's unconscious logic. If women create life, then my work, my wars, my philosophies are secondary. I must therefore claim that mind is superior to body, that spirit is superior to matter, that reason is superior to nature. I must build a world so loud, so monumental, that no one hears the whisper of the womb. This is why patriarchal societies consistently elevate the written word over oral and bodily knowledge, place men in religious hierarchies, priests who mediate between heaven and earth because women are the earth and cannot be allowed to mediate themselves, create artificial scarcity, money, status, land to distract from the one true abundance women embody. We have a case study, the male chart in the shadow of envy. Consider a man with the following configurations, right? Sun in Aries, aggressive identity, by the way, must prove masculinity through conquest. Moon in Capricorn, emotionally repressed, rejects lunar cyclical time, envies emotional fluency. Mars in Libra, in direct aggression, uses charm and legalism to control women. Venus in Scorpio, intense desire, fears his own desire's power, projects it as dangerous femininity. Saturn square Moon, father wound, contempt for the feminine as weakness. This man will often become a patriarch, a lawgiver, a judge, a moralist. He will speak of order and tradition, but underneath, he is haunted by a dream. A woman laughing, bleeding, giving birth, utterly indifferent to his monuments. His envy is the fire he dares not feel. Healing astrologically, such a man needs to honor his own lunar nature, to cry, to receive, to wait. He needs a Venus practice, beauty without possession. He needs earth, gardening, cooking, touching soil. Without this, his Saturn will crush him and everyone around him. And we'll conclude here with the liberation of men from their own envy. This report does not argue for female supremacy. It argues that patriarchy harms men as well by severing them from their own lunar, Venusian, and earthy depths. The jealous man is a prisoner. His wars, his boardrooms, his dogmas are cells he built himself. Astrology offers a way out. Every man has the moon, Venus, and an earth sign somewhere in his chart. The task is to stop projecting these onto women and to reclaim them as his own. When a man can honor the cycles of his own body, the pleasure of his own senses, the generative silence of his own soul, he no longer needs to control women. The envy dissolves. The patriarchy falls not through battle, but through integration. The stars incline. Men may choose to look up or continue building towers that block the sky. We have our appendix here. Chart indicators for male jealousy of the feminine. Moon in hard aspect to Mars, Saturn, Pluto, brings repressed lunar nature projection onto women. Venus in its fall, Virgo, Scorpio, Aries, difficulty with feminine desire, envy of female erotic power. Sun in Capricorn or Aquarius with weak moon, over-identification with abstract patriarchy, disembodied envy. Mars in the 4th house, home and mother, unresolved maternal envy, need to control domestic sphere. Saturn in the 7th house of marriage, legal, structural control of female partners, has envy management. All right. Now, I do want to talk about hormones and how we're destroying our bodies. So I think I have, let's see, 6. Yeah, we're going to go over 7 sections, and then we'll see you guys in the next video for more. So, this is the fixed chart, an astrological argument against hormonal and surgical alteration of the sex body. Let's talk about the natal chart as cosmic constitution. Excuse me. In astrological tradition, the natal chart is not a suggestion. It is the precise imprint of the heavens at the moment of first breath, the signature of the universe on the singular soul. Every planetary placement, every aspect, every degree carries meaning. The chart is not chosen, it is received. This includes the body, the ascendant, and its ruler, described the physical vehicle. The moon rules the fluid, cyclical body. Mars rules the blood, the adrenal fire, the assertive musculature. So Venus rules the hormonal economy of attraction, pleasure, and reproductive tissue. The signs, especially the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, govern the stability and integrity of bodily form. To alter one's hormones or surgically remove or reconstruct sex organs is therefore not a medical procedure in the astrological view. It is an ontological violation, an attempt to rewrite the cosmic constitution after the fact. Human discomfort is not a valid ground for cosmic revision. The argument from discomfort is the weakest possible foundation for changing one's fundamental nature. Yes, I said it. You're fucking weak. Grow up. And people are dying over this. Crazy ass fucking people that are mentally ill are killing people. Do you know how many transgender shooters we've had in Minnesota alone? A transgender man, then we had 2 transgender women, which it's really just mentally ill fucks who need help. Discomfort is universal. Every chart contains hardships. Saturn returns, Pluto transits, Mars retrograde, and hard aspect to the moon. Stop trying to make your life easy for you. The astrological path is not one of escape, but of integration, learning to inhabit what one has been given. The person who feels uncomfortable in their male or female body is experiencing a real suffering, but suffering astrologically is a teacher, not an error to be surgically corrected. The universe does not make mistakes. A difficult placement, say Venus in fallen Virgo square Saturn, is not a call to remove the reproductive organs. It is a call to deepen one's relationship with Venus through discipline, humility, and acceptance. To surgically remove a healthy breast, testicle, uterus, or penis because of psychological discomfort is to treat the body as an enemy rather than a temple. The natal chart shows that the body is the temple of the soul's current incarnation. Temples are not renovated based on fleeting feelings. All right. Hormones is planetary override. Natural hormones are governed by planetary cycles. Whoa, can you believe it? Testosterone corresponds to Mars and the sun, fire, assertion, linear drive. Estrogen and progesterone correspond to the moon and Venus, receptivity, cycling, relational bonding. These are not arbitrary chemicals, they are the liquid signatures of planetary energies working through the endocrine system. A man has a Martian solar baseline, a woman has a lunar Venusian baseline. These baselines are not interchangeable. All right? That's why when you get your little hormones, they're called exogenous. In front of it, exogenous hormones. All right? Lab hormones. So, testosterone given to a female body, estrogen given to a male body, constitute a planetary override. They force a biological rhythm that the natal chart never intended. The moon in a man's chart does not disappear when he takes testosterone. It becomes suppressed, silenced, but still present in shadow. The Mars in a woman's chart does not vanish with estrogen. It becomes frustrated, underground, and often more destructive for being denied expression. And here's the thing. I meant to reverse those around. I meant to say The moon in a man's chart doesn't disappear when he takes estrogen, and the Mars in a woman's chart does not vanish with testosterone. All right? Sorry about that. Astrologically, such interventions create a disharmonic resonance between the cell's blueprint and the body's chemistry. The result is not liberation, but a deeper split, a person at war with their own stars. Surgery is a violation of fixed sign integrity. So the fixed signs govern the principle of persistence, endurance, and unalterable form. Taurus rules the throat, the cervix, the basal metabolic body. Leo rules the heart, the spine, the central life force. Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, the colon, the deep regenerative system. Aquarius rules the shins, the electrical nervous system, the circulation. Surgical removal of sex organs, whether it's mastectomy, hysterectomy, orchiectomy. Phalloplasty is an attack on Scorpio's domain. Scorpio, in its highest expression, teaches that transformation comes through undergoing the depths, not removing them. A person who removes their reproductive capacity because they cannot bear to inhabit their sex is refusing the scorpionic initiation. The body is not a collection of parts to be rearranged according to preference. It is a whole signature. Removing a part does not change the signature. It only mutilates the instrument through which the soul plays. The fallacy of gender as separate from sex. From your religious and astrological perspective, gender is not a social construct separable from biological sex. The planets do not recognize a distinction between male identity and male body. Mars in Aries in a man's chart means both his aggression and his testosterone, both his courage and his prostate. The symbolic and the biological are one fabric. To claim that one can change hormones or surgery while remaining the same astrological entity is to misunderstand what the chart is. The chart is not a set of abstract personality traits. It is a total system that includes every cell, every gland, every chromosome, a female body with male hormones, and a mastectomy is not a man's chart and a woman's body. It is a woman's chart and a violently altered body, a body whose original signature has been defaced. Or you can say damaged goods. Alright, discomfort as initiation, not pathology. The modern medical model calls discomfort with one's sex a disorder to be treated with lifelong hormones and irreversible surgery. Astrology calls it a soul lesson. Every chart has tensions. A woman with Mars conjunct the ascendant may feel too aggressive for her female body. A man with Moon and Pisces square Neptune may feel too soft for his male body. These are not errors. They are invitations to expand the definition of what a man or a woman can be. The solution is not to change the body to match a narrow psychological self-image. The solution is to expand the self-image to embrace the body one was given. A masculine woman is still a woman, a sensitive man is still a man. The natal chart already contains the full spectrum. Surgery and hormones are a refusal of that spectrum, an attempt to flee into a binary that exists only in the mind. And we're going to conclude here. Reverence for the given. The universe created each person with a natal chart that is not a mistake. The discomfort you feel is real, but it is not a mandate to alter your body. It is a call to go deeper into your chart, to honor the difficult aspects, to learn the lessons of the placements you wish you did not have. Men and women should not change their hormones or undergo sex-altering surgery because the body is the natal chart made flesh. To alter the flesh is to declare the cosmos wrong, and the cosmos, being the source of all things, cannot be wrong. The stars are not cruel, they are precise. Learn to read your chart, not rewrite it. Okay, so our appendix is astrological red flags for considering body alteration. Moon in hard aspect to Uranus, bringing sudden restless discomfort with the body, desire for shock change. Venus in hard aspect to Pluto, intense shame or rage toward one's own reproductive capacity. Mars retrograde, bringing difficulty inhabiting one's own aggressive, assertive nature, may project onto body. Neptune on the ascendant, bringing confusion about identity, susceptibility to medical or cultural fads. Saturn in the first house, bringing deep self-rejection, may mistake discipline for self-punishment. So for any of these, the astrological remedies, integration work, therapy, ritual, embodiment practices, Saturnian patience, not surgery, or playing with your hormones. All right. So, I did not do this, I don't think. All right, we were going to talk about money. That's right, you guys heard me. Money. So check me out in the next video. We're going to go over the celestial mechanics of liquidity, an advanced treatise on macro financial astrology and planetary cycle harmonics. This treatise assumes advanced fluency in natal delineation, mundane ingress charts, and heliocentric geocentric conversion. It eschews the sun sign prediction model in favor of cycle superimposition theory. The study of how planetary velocity differentials create temporal compression points and market liquidity. I will see you there. Piscean out.